hope you guys understand that I'm not unhinged. I'm just right, and I'm tired of being told I'm not.
Welcome down the rabbit hole, friends. Fancy Macelli is the owner of the Good Wives Network and the self-proclaimed expert on the Gypsy Rose Blanchard case. And she's come to YouTube, Facebook, and TikTok to tell us all about
the life, the crimes, and the murder of Dee Blanchard. Hit that screen record right now.
I found out about Fancy and her Good Wives Network just a few days after Gypsy was released from prison.
Hey guys, I'm Fancy, and you're watching the Good Wives Network. Woo-wee! Guys, it has been a week. Ryan and I brought a lot of good stuff on this week, and I'm really excited to kind of wrap up things, talk with you about some stuff that we will have planned for next week. I came to the Gypsy Rose Blanchard case 7 years ago. I have worked directly with the family. I was a PR rep for them for 2 years. I worked with them for 3 years. Thank you guys. Thank you. And
I honestly wouldn't have known anything about Fancy, except that Without a Crystal Ball started shitting all over Fancy, doxing her real name and personal criminal history all over the internet. Turns out they have a long history because Katie Joy also sought out an inappropriate enmeshment with the Blanchard family. Fancy accuses Christy Blanchard and Katie Joy Paulson of getting her Ashley Banfield interview canceled regarding the Gypsy case.
Hi guys, I'm Fancy, and you're watching the Good Wives Network. And for all of those running around, those days that run around and talk about me, by the way, no, I've not been served a gag order. Might be a cease and desist, but we all know how you laugh at those, so I'm gonna laugh at yours. Hashtag justice for Nick.
So yeah, Fancy was about to share her information on a big news network, and she claims to have intel that Christy Blanchard shut that shit down. And there's no denying Fancy makes big claims about a terrible and long history of bullying from multiple sources on the internet, including Christy Blanchard.
Hey guys, I'm Fancy, and you're watching the Good Wives Network. Hi, we're talking about Gypsy Rose Blanchard tonight, and my and Colleen McShane and about 20 other people's 7-year journey investigating the life, the crimes of Dee and murder of Dee Blanchard. We have had personal interactions with these people for the last 7 years. Tonight we're going to get into all of this sitting right here over here next to me. That's all Nick. That's what we've got on Nick.
You see, allegedly, Fancy's relationship with the family took a turn for the worse when 1. If you believe Fancy, she started expressing concerns about Gypsy's first fiancé. His name was Ken. And Fancy was worried that Gypsy shouldn't jump into a relationship directly from prison. Fancy also claims that she began to have misgivings about the entire Blanchard family and the public narrative being told after she saw the interrogation tapes involving Gypsy. Ken actually wrote this on a Gypsy-based Facebook group addressing his dislike for Fancy. So here's what Ken wrote on Facebook. He says,
I just wanted to share my opinion on Fancy. So here's the deal. Everything this lady Fancy posts is garbage. First and foremost, she is not a friend of the Blanchard family. She is not a spokesperson for the Blanchard family. She is not working with the Blanchard family. She has absolutely zero trust and zero cooperation with Gypsy herself. She claims that she has all the concern for her, all this care for her well-being, just wants the best for her, yet her actions have spoken nothing but the contrary. Gypsy has asked you many times to leave it alone. She doesn't want it. She wants to let it go. Yet you ignore her and pursue your own selfish path. First of all, the woman has voiced ill opinion towards me, which is understandable since I have been in the way of her project for a while, because I keep Gypsy away from it, because unlike you, I have done nothing but keep Gypsy's best interests at heart and at first importance. She doesn't want to do another series, and I don't blame her. How can she heal and move on if she's constantly rehashing the same story into the spotlight every 3 months? She gets targeted by other inmates and guards, and her wounds will never heal until she gets some rest from the media. But of course, that means nothing to her when she's trying to build her career from nothing into something.
And what happened to Ken? Well, he and Gypsy broke up. A source shared with me that he believes it had to do with Gypsy's relationship with Rachel Garlick and that crazy TikTok account, but who knows for sure. Still, there was seemingly no healing of Fancy's relationship with Gypsy after Ken left the equation.
Ugly crying. Ugly crying. And, I waited and 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 I waited for her to just tell them. To just tell them what happened to her. Just tell them, Gypsy. None of this matters. Just tell them what happened, and then it doesn't matter. And then you guys, you'll be fine. But Nick will go to jail because he's a really bad dude. Just tell him, Gypsy. Just tell him. 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 No. All she did was lie. First, she lied that she didn't know. That was 2 hours, probably lying that she didn't know. First, there was about an hour of her tour guiding for the officer that was watching her. And everybody talks about the difference in between him and...
Or number 2, if you believe Gypsy's family and Fancy's critics, Fancy was misleading the Blanchard family, telling them that she had a TV network, trying to make deals for them, and not helping any good deals come to fruition. See my prior video for more info on these shenanigans.
Ken and Gypsy are livid. And this is right about the time that I have now made contact with A&E. But I want you to understand, things were already falling apart because of Ken, not because of Ken, but because Gypsy was mad that we were concerned, that I was concerned, that Tori was concerned, that Titania was concerned.
Regardless of the reason, the relationship between Fancy and the Blanchards had soured, and the result was ugly, you guys. Fancy makes claims of horrible bullying online. You'll have to go to the Good Wives Network to see all of it, but suffice it to say, people started making entire Facebook groups to make fun of Fancy's lady parts. Fancy is open and in your face about all of this. She's taken the stance now of standing up for herself and threatening legal action when she thinks she's being bullied further.
Hey guys, I'm Fancy and you're watching the Good Wives Network, and I just wanted to give you guys a heads up. If you are one of the people who participated in any of the bullying, stalking, defaming, frauding, any of that for the last 7 years against me, my company, my friends, my family, my partners, you have been warned. Some of you went to defend yourselves in a live with my former partners, and you didn't tell the whole truth. And you know you didn't hold the whole truth. And I'm not after you. But I have a lawyer now, and I'm coming for people. And I'm going to make sure to stop this and shut this shit down. So if you don't want to be caught in the crossfires, I definitely believe that if you know anything about anything that happened and you participated in it, you sure as shit better come correct right to my fucking inbox right now. Not my DMs, not anything else. You can send it to Tips for Good Wives.
In my opinion, this kind of bullying and taking things real life is so wrong. And whoever participated in it is wrong for doing so. But we cannot deny that now Fancy had a bone to pick with the Blanchards. Gypsy was even sending out emails from prison with not so nice reviews of her relationship with Fancy.
I had this conversation with my husband tonight about objectivity because it's come up a lot about why I'm in this, how can I be objective anymore? My friends have asked me, I've asked myself, my team has asked me, and what I have determined is I can be very, very objective about the case, the files, the evidence. What I am not objective about is the people, and I don't have to be objective about the people because I know who the people are, and they showed me exactly who they were, and that's what I'm telling you.
And it's here that Fancy started changing her thoughts about the case.
So that's why this story is very important. That's why the drama is important. Because you have to understand that this was done so that every single one of you do not have the right information. Okay? That I seem like I'm very condescending and I have 150 IQ and I'm the smartest person in the room. No. But what I'm going to tell you is this. I'm the only one saying I'm going to open it all up and show you everything. I'll show you all the conversations. I'll show you all the different things. And I will show you exactly what part I was manipulated to play, because I'm telling you, the person that sits here today 7 years later is not the person that started on this journey.
So, by the time Gypsy was released from prison, lots had changed for Fancy, not the least of which is that she had acquired some emotional support chickens.
Hey guys, I'm Fancy, and you're watching the Good Vibes Network, and OMG, I have to show you what I got from the TikTok shop today. I got two things, but I'm only going to show you one in this, and I'll show you one in another video, both super cute. Look, there's the emotional support chickens! Ah! They are so super cute, guys. They even come with an explanation of their names. It says their names are...
This is currently one of my favorite things about Fancy. Her emotional support chicks even assist her in acting out skits. You'll have to check out her channel for all of that. But despite all of the emotional support provided, Fancy was not holding back on expressing her newfound frustration and criticism of Gypsy Rose Blanchard.
They're laughing all the way to the bank. Okay?
So goes the ways of the world, that shortly after everyone freaked out in a positive way about Gypsy Rose being released, the pendulum swung in the opposite direction, and seemingly everyone was quickly disgusted and tired of the story. This was when I first recognized an opportunity for Fancy's rhetoric about Gypsy to catch on, and catch on it did.
Have you guys seen this? I was just sitting here scrolling, ignore the water on my shirt, but I came across these screenshots, I guess from some Facebook page. I don't really get on Facebook anymore, I'm not trying to do that. But anyway, I'm gonna post them here. I don't know, y'all, that's kind of wild. That's a hot take.
Fuck! So what are you gonna do? Oh, motherfucker. Here we go again.
Everyone, go follow the Good Wives Network if you want to keep up with the appeal on Nick Godejohn. Team Nick.
Guys, I'm Fancy, and you're watching the Good Vibes Network. And I look a hot mess. I know. And you remember.
New evidence against Gypsy Rose has been released, and what I'm about to read to you may shock you, and it appears that the entire Gypsy Rose story may have been a lie. So some of this evidence has been brought to light for Nick Godejohn's new trial, but Fancy, who worked with the family for years, when she started digging for more answers, the family turned on her, and she has access to all of Gypsy's medical records and all of the court information, so she's now releasing all that information to prove to everybody that Gypsy is lying. Okay, so
Gypsy is a very manipulative, dangerous young woman. And she is doing exactly what her mama taught her to do.
Fancy's narrative started evolving. She made claims that Gypsy Rose is manipulative, selfish, dishonest, and a user. She created new relationships with old enemies. For example, Rachel Garlick, who she now expresses a deep love for, once was a major thorn in Fancy's side, whom she thought of as a bad influence on Gypsy. It appears to me Fancy's narrative changed in direct relationship to losing her primary source, Christy Blanchard. But whatever the reason, she started sharing a lot of information, painting Gypsy in a negative light. And as far as I can tell, she now believes Gypsy's case is not a Munchausen by proxy situation. Instead, Fancy is calling this a long con by two con artists, Gypsy and her mother, Dee Dee Blanchard.
Hey guys, I'm Fancy. You're watching the Good Wives Network. And for 7 years, you have heard me run my mouth about Gypsy Rose Blanchard. I have run in circles. I have told you I knew it all. I did. I just didn't know what I was looking at. And tonight at 8 o'clock, Ryan and I will be running down our final thoughts on Gypsy Rose. I think it's finally to a point where I can walk away from this bitch forever. And I can only talk about her when I want to talk about her, when it's on my terms.
Alrighty, so hopefully I'm going to try to stay as professional, because I am a professional. I don't give a shit what anybody else tells you. And that is my professionalness coming out there. Just not really. Investigating the life, the crimes, and the schmurder of Dee Dee Blanchard. And when they say that I'm coming at the Blanchards because I'm angry, I have every right to be.
Yes, Fancy is angry. And she's going through some stuff. Fancy has listed off a litany of diagnoses. to include autism, ADHD, long COVID, having a mom that was a lot like Dee Dee Blanchard, recently having surgery. And as Fancy's behavior started to appear more unhinged and she received criticism, she told us she has a rare diagnosis of auto brewery syndrome.
Hey guys, I'm Fancy, and you're watching the Good Wives Network, and this is a warning for anyone who wants to ever say that I'm drunk and alive, or that I'm taking pills, or any of those things ever again. Look it up. It's called auto brewery syndrome. Do some homework. You might learn some shit. Google that shit. Now, anybody who says it again, you will be automatically shown the door.
Personally, this is when I realized I couldn't take Fancy seriously anymore. And I feel badly about it because she does have facts and evidence no one else has because of her past relationship with the family. But it's clear she's become so emotionally enmeshed with this case that she cannot be objective in any way, shape, or form.
This is a two-way street. I show respect where I'm given respect. But you don't get to talk about whether I'm taking something or I'm drinking something, because that ain't your fucking business. I'm bringing facts and evidence. You want that? Fine. Then you can be willfully educated, or you can continue to be willfully ignorant over with those other clowns.
And I did not ever use a forged document to get any.
And you can hear exactly my thoughts on the
that
case.
I have in my
And last
possession.
night, I began talking about
And then Katie
Dan,
Paulson from Without a
and how I
Crystal Ball.
thought there could be a
Bing,
very
bing,
big distinct
she walks
possibility
right in.
that Dan was involved and
Yeah,
Nick had
we're going to
been
talk about her later too. It's all about that money, 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 money. And now she wants got both. She wanted money, 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 and the boy, right? But see, this thing right here is going to screw that all up.
Fancy is very dramatic, and I have to be honest, it's fun to listen to, but everything really hit a sore spot for me when Fancy's new team member acted out her version of Dee Dee's murder on TikTok. Ryan is new to Fancy's team, and it's clear she's trying really hard to be a productive member. She is very pro getting Nicholas Godejohn a new trial, which is something I'm very interested in as well. But Ryan and Fancy Drew have taken this to an extreme by putting out theories that Nick wasn't involved and Gypsy committed the schmurder all on her own.
And she tried that night, but hear me out. 13 little tiny jabs, and she tried. And you hear from down here as they're going on. 1, 2, 3, 4. Don't hurt me, Gypsy. 5, 6. No, don't. 7, 8, 9. Don't, Gypsy. 10, 11, 12, 13. She climbs off. As she climbs off, she holds to her mother. She's actually regretful now. Mom, I didn't know what to do, Mom. I'm sorry. Gypsy, I'm not dead yet. You don't have to do this, Gypsy. Gypsy leaves the room. She gets a hold of Nick at 10 o'clock. And from 10 o'clock until he gets there, her blood slows. She goes down. And when Nick gets there, he finishes the blood spatter is not where it should be because she has started to go away.
I'm so sorry, I have to take a minute.
This reenactment caught a lot of people by surprise, and there was a lot of criticism lobbied towards Fancy and the Good Wives Network. Seemingly, things started to unravel and become even more unhinged on all of Fancy's social media platforms.
I'm not even sure he's done it. Yep, I said that. Allegedly, in my opinion. For entertainment and educational purposes only, there could be a boy behind prison right now, and I'm not even sure that boy actually unalived anybody. And yeah, he's got some dark, demented thoughts, but that's because he is mentally ill. And as much as I respect Bob, because I think he really loves his son, he does not believe in mental health help. And Nick was not on medication. And he says in his video, his mama, and I'm going to cry and I'm going to be okay. Just give me a minute. I got to get through it and I have to cry. And his mama said her little boy would never hurt a fly. And then she went on to say, but he just got home from his dad's and now he's not on his medication. And then Nick says in his interrogation video, and it's in this file and it's in his appeal.
I still watch Fancy Macelli's lives because I find her incredibly interesting. But I've learned to fully take everything she says with a grain of salt, and as she says, to only watch it for entertainment purposes. It's a little bit sad because I worry about how she could negatively affect the social media cause to stick up for Nicholas Godejohn. She does support him getting a new trial, but with her unpredictable behavior, it's unlikely she can help lead a movement. If you want to learn more about Fancy, you can always check her out on YouTube or TikTok under the Good Wives Network. She's an interesting person, and I have feelings on both ends of the spectrum about her. I do believe it's dangerous to pretend like we know or have specific evidence that says Nick didn't commit the crime and Gypsy did. I want Nick to get a new trial, even based on the evidence that he is the one who perpetrated the murder. And ultimately, despite whatever new evidence Fancy Macelli brings to the table, it's obvious to me that Gypsy Rose Blanchard was a horribly abused child who grew into an adult who's going to live with mental health issues for the rest of her life because of the abuse that was perpetrated upon her. Both Nick and Gypsy came from homes where there wasn't enough support or intervention, or there was abuse going on that deeply affected them and led them or helped them down the path to committing this horrible act. And yes, there should be consequences for it, and there has been. But yet, it's my personal belief that both of these kids deserve a second chance. I have so much more to say about all of this, including a post in which Nick's dad finally speaks out about his appeal. I hope you'll join me tomorrow as we head down that rabbit hole.
But if there was ever a reason of why the truth is important, besides it being she's just a dangerous freaking person and she should not be in anyone's home ever, because she really is a deviant. You want to know what the real reason is for this? Because I think there's a boy sitting doing life right now that may or may not have unalived a person. And even if he did, he only did it for one reason, and that was Gypsy Rose.